Hey guys, Caro97 again. This time with a review of the 100 scale Zollidia from the Victory Gundam series. Now for colors, for starters, we get two shades of gray. We get a darker one for pretty much most of the machine. Then we get a lighter one with a slight bluish tint for the upper arms, the hands, upper legs, upper feet, and also for the thrusters on the backpack and the side skirts. Then we get some red for the shoulders, the torso. What I was surprised by was that these are also pieces. They are part of a bigger one. Also goes on to the bottom, but that was some cool detail. And for some really cool detail, the final color we're getting is clear purple for the eyes. I gotta say, those are some pretty damn good looking eyes. And we get the same clear purple for the beam shield and the beam sabers. For stickers, of course, it's an older kit. We do get a few of them. And sadly enough, metallic ones for normal parts. So yeah, for the red ones, we get the ones that wrap around the legs, inside of thrusters, which is pretty damn cool for an older model kit to do. We get the red ones on the face, then we get the gray ones on both sides of the shield. Then we get the metallic green one on top of his chest. That's a pretty cool one, I will have to say. And then the final one, which I haven't applied, is the green one, which is supposed to go on his crotch. But I decided that that one was probably going to look worse with a sticker on it than without a sticker. Now, of course, for colors overall, it's pretty good out of the box. The only big issue is, of course, this giant red shoulder, which for the most part should have been the darker gray with the lighter gray on the tip. So yeah, that might irk some people. Though in all honesty, it is a Zaku style spike shield and those are generally one color. So it's not the end of the world, but it probably would have been better if this was just gray. Because, well, the majority is supposed to be gray. Anyways, moving on to articulation. The head is on a ball joint, goes up pretty well, down nicely, rotates around about that far until it gets stuck. The arms will rotate around, go up about that far on that side, and on his left side slightly more. Then we'll rotate around above the elbow, bend at the elbow, slightly less than 90 degrees, not superb, but hey, the hands will rotate around all the way. Wiggle around and do everything a ball joint does. They have the traditional 90s articulation, no thumb movement, the lower three fingers molded together and the trigger finger is separate. Though for those 90s hands, they are pretty damn solid. And there is some waist movement. Rotates around about that far, and that's as far as he's going to go because, well, the side skirts don't really like the shape of the backpack. And that is really as far as it's going to go. Then talking about the backpack, we even have some articulation there. Thrusters go up and down. And this one also goes up and down together with this piece. So then, that's a pretty cool backpack for an early 90s model kit. Legs go out about that far. We'll rotate around a bit, go forward about that far. But the real cool thing, articulated back skirt, that is something we really don't see a lot. So I was very surprised to see the Zollidia offer this. Even on a lot of master grade kits, especially the older ones, we don't see that. Then the knees, double jointed, but yeah, not really using that double jointedness a lot. And the feet, forwards, backwards, side to side, and rotate around a little bit. So overall, articulation is pretty standard with a very surprising twist of that moving back skirt. That's really cool. Also the moving thruster. So his backside has some pretty nice surprises when it comes to articulation. On to accessories. And let's just say that his back wasn't the only thing that impressed me for such an old kit. First thing we're getting is the standard issue beam rifle, but what isn't so standard about it is this cool mechanical feature. It isn't a lot, but once again, for such an old kit, that was really cool to see. And the biggest surprise is it stays up. And it stays up pretty well because it does have a locking mechanism inside. That was so cool to put that thing together. Once again, it's super easy, but for an old kit, that's a really sweet feature. And now the most important thing that kind of surprised me even more is that these hands are perfect for this beam rifle. Once again, nowadays that is something we all take for granted because of course his accessories are going to fit in his hand, but this, it feels like this hand was molded for this beam rifle, and anyone who's built any of the old Wing kits or Gundam X kits knows exactly what I'm talking about. So far, this guy is really impressing me. And what's also always impressive with the Victory Gundam kits, the beam shields. As always, gorgeous, full of detail, and looks just plain fantastic. We get the beam generator, can just be put on like this, or take the thing apart and put in this beam effect part. And really, why wouldn't you? Why would you leave this thing off? And just put that back together. It does seem that on mine, this one is slightly loose, but yeah, they can't all be winners. Put it in there. Isn't hindered by the shoulder whatsoever. That was something I was a bit worried about because I have seen model kits being hindered by their own shoulder armor when trying to activate their beam shield. Then the final weapons we're getting, two very nice clear beam toothpicks. Yeah, they're toothpicks, but they're clear. And you can very easily paint the handle. Just put it in there. And thanks to the design of the hands, it is at kind of an angle, but if you want to, yeah, there we go. You can also put them upright a bit, but he does hold on to them pretty good. Not gonna come crashing down whatsoever. Like I said, I was very surprised with those hands. Then the final accessory that we're getting is a second set of eyes, and these ones are closed as opposed to the open purple ones that are already on there, and the clear purple ones, of course. And this was one feature that most of the Bespin mobile suits had. Their eyes could open and close in order to protect the eye sensor, so that was a cool feature, and it's cool that we do get both options in here. And while we have seen all accessories, there is one thing I have to mention at the end, and it's a bit of a sad thing I have to mention. And that is that he does have a few more hard points to mount accessories that were sadly enough never released. Or maybe this was for a possible Zollidia, which was also never released. Two hard points here, and also it feels like that right there could be a hard point. Sadly enough, they were never taken advantage of. With the Zollidia in 144 scale, we saw that he kind of had those guns on here, and the 144 scale Zollidia also came with some pieces that could be mounted on here, such as the Gatling gun. So unfortunately, if you want a Gatling gun for this guy, you're gonna have to track down one of these, which fortunately he can use. And, you know, these were supposed to be 144 scale, but this is a pretty small machine, so 144 scale is going to be perfect for this guy. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? And well, for 1,000 yen, it's a pretty damn good deal, especially for such an old model kit. It's got its ups and its downs, but the ups more than make up for the downs. I mean, you've got the really cool beam rifle with that, there's that little mechanical effect it's got going on. Then you've got the gorgeous purple beam effect parts. And overall, it's just a pretty solid kit all around. Combine that with the fact that, well, it is the only 100 scale Bespin mobile suit. And on top of that, I would say that this is the best of the 100 scale Victory Gundams as far as the old ones go. So for Victory Gundam fans, the Zollidia here is definitely something you should consider picking up, if not right away. Now, sure, most of you remember the old 144 scale here, which I'm not really a fan of, but the question now is is there still a reason to pick up the old 1/144 scale, or should you totally go for the 1/100 scale? Well, there are a few reasons to still pick up the old one. And the few reasons, well, the things on the back. Because, well, this here has those wire things, the explosive wires. That's really cool. It's got that. And, of course, it's got the Gatling gun that comes with it. Our 1/100 scale here unfortunately has holes, which would indicate that, well, it would get them or that they would be released in the future, but alas, it never happened. Another interesting difference I never really noticed is that the thrusters on the legs of the 1/144 scale are much more protruding than the ones on the 1/100 scale. Now, this is a typical case of coolness versus anime accurateness. These thrusters seem to be much more anime accurate from, well, what I was able to tell from the line art I could find. These, well, they're bigger, they're cooler, but that's your personal preference. So if you're not, well, one big up, of course, on this guy is the beam effect parts. Also, this is a high quality model kit, and this is a no grade. That high quality was not sarcastic, that's the actual grade this thing has. So then, if you're willing to paint a lot, and you're willing to put some love into this thing, there's still a reason to get this. Other than that, this is the very clear winner. And for not that much more, because, well, 1,000 yen, that's pretty damn cheap. One thing I will have to mention is that these Victory Gundam models are, of course, very small. So don't think that you're getting a giant model kit for only 1,000 yen, as I will now immediately point out with some size comparisons. As you can see, he's quite a bit smaller than the Master Grade Jim Kai, and he's even slightly smaller than the High Grade Revolt Century New Gundam. So, well, that 1,000 yen does have its reasons. And here he is next to the 100 scale Victory Gundam Hexa and the Gun Blaster from the same line. And these two were also the reason why I was so surprised that he was able to hold on to his beam rifle that well. Because they're not always that great at holding on to their own beam rifle. And finally, here he is next to the standard size Jim Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3, which is in fact slightly taller than the Zollidia. Well, that's all for this review, and see you guys next time.